Hi ladies, it's Victoria. Thanks so much for coming back to my channel. It is Friday, the 23rd of January, 2015, and it is 10:01 at night. And I'm just getting around to filming this update, so I do apologize for that. I had kind of vlogged about my emotions earlier today before I got the phone call, but listening to the clip back later this evening before I started filming this, I realized that I just came across as angry and frustrated, and that's really not how I feel. I mean, I'm frustrated, but I just feel like without knowing the whole story, it just kind of comes across the wrong way. So I'm filming this now. I'm going to get this up for you guys. So I'll kind of go through my emotions a little bit, but if you guys are interested in more detail, kind of how this whole process went down, I'm happy to make a separate video about it. So, as you know, today is day 5 for my embryos. Just a quick recap. On Wednesday, we had 9 embryos. We were up 1 from the first report after fertilization on Monday. So we went up 1. However, all of them showed fragmentation ranging between 15 and 40%, which some fragmentation is normal. But for most of them being on that higher scale and for all of them to be showing fragmentation, that wasn't normal. So as you guys know, if you watched Wednesday's video, it was not a good day for me. So, and I keep saying me, and I don't want anyone to think that I count my husband out of any of this. It's just as hard for him, but he's not the one in the video, so I guess I just say me. But us, it's been difficult for both of us. He's a little bit better at compartmentalizing and just one day at a time, whereas I'm, big picture, trying to think ahead and put all the pieces together. So he deals with it a little bit better than me. But anyway, moving on. So that was Wednesday. So that's where we were. So going into today, I had no expectations. I have to be 100% honest with you. I was pretty much prepared for the phone call that said that we had nothing today. That's the phone call I was prepared for. So I finally got my phone call about 10 o'clock. Yeah, about 10 or 10:15 this morning. The embryologist said it might be later because they were going to check them as late as possible to give them as much time as possible to catch up to where they needed to be, so that they could give me the best possible grading. So there's good news and there's bad news, just like with everything in this process. I feel like it can't just be one. There has to be both. So good news, let's start with good news. Good news is we have 1 blastocyst, and speaking with the embryologist on the phone, she graded it a B+, but my doctor took the phone from her and said she is the toughest grader in the place and that anyone else there would give it a solid A. So, and she laughed and said that that was probably the case, that anybody else who looked at it would give it an A. She was just a little tougher, but I'd rather have the tougher grading and err on the side of caution, so I'll take it. So we're somewhere between an A and a B+, depending on who you ask. So that's awesome. The fragmentation cleared up in that embryo. The bad news, part 1, the rest of the embryos haven't changed much since Wednesday. So they're going to keep them 1 more day. She's going to call me again tomorrow. So tomorrow will technically be my final report, but she told me not to expect anything. She doesn't think there will be any changes. Of course, it's always possible because, as you guys know, we thought we only had 8 embryos going into Monday after fertilization. When they looked again Wednesday, it turned out there were really 9. So who knows? We could end up with 1 more or 2 more or whatever God decides. That would be awesome. But as suggested, I'm not going to hold any expectation for more. So I'm very thankful for the 1 that we have and the fact that it appears quite strong. Sorry, I'm getting a hair off my camera. Obviously we can't tell anything chromosomally, but we do know that we have 1. So that was the good news. So anyway, like I said, bad news part 1 is the rest of them haven't done anything since Wednesday, and the fragmentation kind of continued to build in those. So that's not good. So then basically we're at a crossroads. And she said, you know, what is it that you want to do? Because we can biopsy and send for PGD. And I said, well, I think my doctor is going to say no to that, because he was pretty explicit when we first talked about PGD that he would not send embryos down unless we had multiple. I mean, his goal really was 6, but in my case with such low numbers, maybe he'd accept 3, but he's definitely not going to send 1. And she said, probably not, but if you insisted, we would send whatever you asked, because it's, you know, our choice. So she said we could pursue PGD with the 1. Sorry, I'm so worn out. This week has been, I think it's taking quite a toll. Anyway, so we could pursue PGD on the 1, and then set up for a transfer. Not this next cycle, obviously, that should be starting in the next week or so, because I would have had to have started medication already. So we'd transfer my next cycle, which would be, you know, like the end of February-ish sometime, start prepping for transfer in March if everything came back all right. That's option number 1. I am so sorry, you guys. Option number 2 is that they biopsy and freeze this embryo, and we stim again for another month and hope that we get better results and have more embryos to send for PGD. Or option number 3, which really isn't that great of an option either, is we just don't do PGD on the embryo that we have and just prep for transfer and do a transfer. So of those 3 options, the very first one that I was able to rule out immediately without even talking to my husband was prepping for transfer without PGD. Given my history of 5 miscarriages, my doctor has strongly advised against moving forward with PGD, or without PGD, sorry. There's a hair on my lens too. Sorry about that. He strongly advised against moving forward without PGD, so I wouldn't do that. So that one was out. So that left us with stim again, try again, or do PGD on this 1 and hope everything's okay, and then prep for transfer. So I asked my embryologist, her name is Tiffany, she's actually the head embryologist. I asked her, you know, what her opinion was. I said, honestly, Tiffany, if you tell me that you don't think that this is if you tell me you don't think that this is sorry, now I'm hiccuping. If you don't think that this is a degenerative issue, and you think my best bet is stimming again, I trust you. And I'm going to do what you say. But if you think, what I really want to hear from you is that you think that there's a chance that this isn't degenerative. Because if it is, I'm not going to move forward and put myself through this and another, you know, $4,000 in medication to have the same result if you really believe, you know, fairly conclusively that this is a degenerative issue with my eggs. And she said, honestly, you know, let me talk to your doctor and I'm going to call you right back. So within about 20 minutes, she called me back and she had Dr. Orris, my doctor, on the phone as well. And they basically said that they believe that due to my PCOS and the length of my cycles and my previous history, that it is completely possible that there were old eggs in my ovaries, because there were, if you guys remember, there were so many follicles right off the bat, which isn't necessarily the case, and some of them were quite large for day 2 of my cycle, he said. So it's completely possible that there were a lot of old eggs in my ovaries. So that could be why they were degenerative and that we had the fragmentation issue. So because of that, they believe my best bet is truly stimming immediately, because now we know that my ovaries have been cleaned out. There aren't any old eggs in there. So this would be a defining moment, if you want to call it that, in our treatment. we would know then with this next cycle, if we had better results, that my ovaries probably had old eggs. I can't stop yawning. I'm so sorry. So, or that if we got the same result, that it meant that I have a degenerative egg issue and we would have to pursue other options at that point. Obviously, we would utilize PGD at that point for our one embryo, and hopefully we'd be able to move forward with that one first, but then we would have to move to other options if it didn't work. So, it was a lot of information very, very quickly, and my brain was pretty fried just trying to think about it, because basically what it comes down to is either we spend $6,000 on the one embryo for PGD and pray that, one, it's normal, two, that if it is normal and we transfer, that it takes, and three, that I can sustain the pregnancy. So there's a lot of ifs there, and that's a lot of money to gamble on just one embryo. I'd feel better if it was spread out over a few. So then the other option, moving forward with stimming, and then doing PGD, we already have the money set aside for PGD. So we're okay for PGD. We don't have the whole amount, but we have the amount that has to go to the PGD lab. The biopsy piece will be able to pay off to my clinic over time, thank the Lord. But about $2,700 has to go to the lab in Miami right away, and we do have that set aside. So really, it's either come up with $4,000 right now for meds, or come up with the money for meds for another cycle and use everything we have for PGD on one embryo. So it's a total catch-22. But I truly believe that the $4,000, and that's an approximation. I don't know what my protocol will be yet. We're going to talk about that tomorrow when they call me with my final update. So I'm guessing, because last time, as you guys know, there were some amazing ladies who sent me medications that they had not opened or used. So I was able to utilize the Menopure and Ganirelix, which saved me about $1,400, which was incredible. So those would be expenses that I would have this time because I used those medications. So I'm guessing somewhere between $3,000 and $4,000 most likely, because I'm also assuming my protocol wouldn't be the same as last time. It would be different. I'm assuming they'd be trying new things. So, but I believe that money is better spent money, even though it's more money than we'd spend just going the PGD route with the one embryo and putting all of our money on that one. It is more money to stim, but we're going to have answers, and we have an opportunity to have more embryos to send for PGD. So I just feel like it's all around the better bet, and I will know for sure what is going on. And I feel like for us to be able to move forward in all of this, especially me, I need to know that I've exhausted every possibility. So while I'm not willing to just throw money at something that has no chance, the fact that they feel like I have a good opportunity to have a different outcome, I'm all in. So we really have to make our decision quick. I mean, we've made the decision. We're going forward with stimming. That's not even a question at this point. But the real issue is coming up with the money. My cycle is going to start. It's been a week since they took the eggs, almost. It'll be a week on Sunday. So we're almost there. So my cycle is going to start in a week-ish. That's usually how it works with an IVF cycle, within 2 weeks. So it's coming soon. And we'll be starting medications then very, very soon. So I just need to hurry up and figure out how we're going to come up with the money. But that's our problem. We'll figure it out. I said if I have to sell everything I own, that's what we'll do. But I feel like we owe it to ourselves and our future family to, like I said, exhaust every option. So that's where we are. As far as how I'm feeling, everyone was kind of surprised that I'm doing as well as I am with this, but it's because, one, I wasn't expecting to have any good news today. So I'm thrilled that we have an embryo. It means the world to me that we have one. It's so exciting, and it makes me feel so good. So that was huge for me emotionally. But more importantly, we're now in a position where we need to make decisions again, and everything is back in our control. Obviously, the final answer of whether or not this works isn't in our control, but we're back in control of making decisions for a little while, and it's in our hands. So this is when I do my best, when I have some sort of input or control over what's happening. So I feel much better about that, and I can kind of guide our game plan until we turn ourselves over to medication again. So it makes me feel better to know that we have a couple paths to choose from, and that, you know, we have the support of our doctors, which is really important. So that's where we are. That's how I'm feeling. Some of you guys have asked how Jason is doing. Jason is doing really well. If you know my husband in real life, you know that how do I put this? It's not that he can't show emotion. He just doesn't allow himself to get too far in any one emotion. He kind of really compartmentalizes in his own head, and he feels his emotions inside of himself and doesn't really show them that much. He doesn't express them outwardly that much. So to talk to him and to look at him, you would think that life's just peachy keen and everything's great, but if you actually force him to have a conversation, or if you're me and trying to talk to him about this, you can tell that he's concerned and he's nervous and he's scared. But I thank you guys for asking about him. He does very well with stuff like this. He's more like one day at a time, whereas I need to see the big picture and I need to know everything. So that's why we work so well together. He kind of keeps me grounded and reminds me one day at a time. So anyway, that's it for tonight, guys. I will call you tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Can I call you tomorrow? I wish I could call you guys. I will do another video tomorrow after I've spoken with Tiffany and I have more information for you as to, hopefully I'll have my protocol, I'll have some cost estimations for you, and I'll be able to give you some more specifics. But that's where we are, and I just want to thank you guys for going out of your way to support me on Instagram and in the comments and in messages to me. I go back and reread them all the time because it gets me through the day when I'm just going crazy waiting or thinking of all the possible scenarios. You guys just keep me grounded and remind me that I have an awesome support system, and I'm so, so lucky. So thank you guys for that. Leave a comment down below about, any questions that you guys might have or any video that you want to see. I am going to record my 5 things I wish I knew before my egg retrieval video, so that will be up. I'll probably put that up Sunday since I'm doing another IVF update tomorrow. So that's it for now, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!